What up, my gangsters? Yo guys, what's up? It's Dave, the open source gangster here. So one of the advantages of Android running off of Linux kernel is the fact that you can run practically any distribution of Linux within Android, and that includes Ubuntu 13.10. Now this is very easy to do thanks to an app called Complete Linux Installer. Now all you need to have to do this is a root Android device with at least 1 to 4 gigabytes of free space, and that is it. So let's get to it. Alright, so before we get started, there are a few apps that you're going to need to download. The first app is Complete Linux Installer. And I've used this before in my past video on how to run Ubuntu 12.04 on Android, and the same app provides its ability to run Ubuntu 13.10 on Android. Next we need to download an app called Android VNC Viewer. And that's just so that we can actually view Ubuntu once we get it up and running through terminal. So that's also available free. Next we need to download an app called Terminal Emulator. And this is essential so that we can get Ubuntu up and running and we can interact with it through the terminal. Finally, we need to download a file explorer. Now you can use any file explorer of your choice. I'm just going to use Astro File Explorer, but like I said, you can use any of your choice. And this is just so we can extract a zip. So I'm going to use Astro. Okay, so let's start. So open up a Complete Linux Installer. It's going to ask you if you want to install the boot scripts in BusyBox. Select OK. And make sure that you are rooted. So grant it super user permission. And it's going to begin installing the scripts. And here we are. Now let's go up here to install guides. This install guide is very easy and walks you through the installation. And as you can see, Complete Linux Installer offers you not just Ubuntu 13.10, but many other distributions of Linux. So let's go to Ubuntu 13.10. Alright, so it's making sure that we have root and our kernel has loop support devices. Most likely the kernel might or might not have it. It's always hit and miss for loop support, but just check it out and see. And also, it wants us to enable USB debugging. And I already have mine enabled, but if you don't, go up here to settings, go down to developer options, right down here. If you do not see developer options, go to about phone or tablet, and make sure you select this multiple times, and it's going to prompt you for developer options. Then within developer options, go to developer options, and USB debugging, and make sure that's enabled. So let's go back to Complete Linux Installer. Alright, so we all have all that enabled. Go to page 2. Now we can choose the image that we want to download. We can download the core image, large or small. If you want to use Ubuntu just through the terminal, download the core image. It'll save you a lot of time, and it's a smaller download. But if you want the whole GUI and everything else, download the large image. So I'm going to download the large image. We're going to go to SourceForge. Always. And it's going to start our download. And always. And here we go. It's going to start downloading the Ubuntu image. This is going to take a little while. Just sit back and relax and wait for it to finish. Alright, so our download has finished at the top. So now what we need to do is we need to extract the zip folder and extract the contents to a folder called Ubuntu on our SD card. So first, let's go into our file explorer. So I'm going to Astro. Now I've already done this, but what I'm going to do is make a folder called Ubuntu. And to do that, all you need to do is go up to here and hit the new folder icon, and then create the folder name, type in Ubuntu, and hit create. And make sure it's at your SD card location. So make sure it's in your SD card 0 or SD card location. So once we create our new Ubuntu folder, what we need to do is extract the contents from the Ubuntu zip to that folder. So go to download, go to Ubuntu zip, let's go back here, we're actually tap and hold it. We're going to go to extract here, and it's going to extract the contents of the zip. Alright, so the extraction is completed. So now what we want to do is we want to move the Ubuntu image file and the MD5 file to the Ubuntu folder. So I'm going to select these two files. Then at the bottom, I'm going to go to move, and let's go to SD card 0. And let's go to Ubuntu and paste. Alright, so after we transfer the files, we need to do one last thing, which is not really mentioned in the instructions, but it's important to do. We need to rename these files and just make sure it says Ubuntu for both these files. So simply select the file you want to rename and go to rename. And you still want the image extension, but get rid of all this other stuff. Alright, so get rid of all that and just hit rename. And do the same thing for the other file. Rename. This is an MD5 file, not as important, but still good to have. Get rid of everything else except the image, MD5. Rename. Alright, so once you rename both the files, now you're ready to launch Ubuntu. So now let's go back into Complete Linux Installer. We're going to go over here to Launch and make sure the distribution is on Ubuntu and hit Start Linux. It's going to open up the terminal session, grant it super user permission. Do we want to check the MD5 file? I'm going to set N for no. It's not really that important. So now it's going to ask us, do we want to start VNC server? Hit Y for yes. We do not want an SSH server, or at least I don't want one. If you want one, then feel free to, start it. But I'm going to hit N for no. I want to enter the screen size. Since I'm running Nexus 7 2013 edition, which has a 1080p screen, I'm going to set it to a full 1080p. So 1920, 1920 by 1080. I'm going to hit enter. Password, I don't know, I guess we'll call this Ubuntu. Alright, and let's save the settings. We're going to hit Y for yes. Okay, and if you see root at localhost, that means you are in Ubuntu. So right now, Ubuntu is up and running, and if you're a terminal wizard, a terminal geek, you can just go right here in a terminal and do all the fun stuff you like to do. However, I'm a person, I love GUIs, and they're just awesome. So let's actually look at the GUI for this. So we're going to keep that up and running. I'm going to go and open up Android VNC Viewer. So let's go and find Android VNC. Alright, so close this. For the nickname, I'm just going to call this Ubuntu. For the password, it's going to be Ubuntu. The address, we can keep it blank or type in localhost. And port 5900. And want to change the color format to 4BPP. 24-bit right there. Now hit connect. Now we're connecting and oh no, what is this? Alright, so if you try to connect and you get this message at the top that says could not start dbus, can you call QBus? Do not panic because there is a way around this. Now, huge thanks goes out to Google reviewer Nikki Okotia, who reviewed the app Complete Linux Installer, because he put in a suggestion, if you do get this bug, to download an app called SE Linux Permissive. So let's go to that. So what we're going to do is go to the Play Store, and we're going to type in SE Linux. You're going to see an app that says SE Linux Mode Changer. What you want to do is you want to download and install that, then open it. Grant it super user permission. Alright, now you want to do is change it to permissive. Go back to Terminal Emulator. We want to exit it out. So let's close out Ubuntu. Shutting down Linux ARM. And exit again. And want to exit one more time. Here we go. Now let's go back to Complete Linux Installer. Start Linux. Alright, it's going to ask, do we want to load our configuration file or MD5 file? No, configuration file loaded. Okay, and it is going to start Linux. So now let's go back to Android VNC Viewer. Acknowledge, let's close. Keep all of our settings the same and hit connect. And here we are, it is loading, and we are inside of Ubuntu 13.10. So, we're in Ubuntu 13.10. Now, this is using the KDE Linux desktop, and that's because KDE is generally quicker, lightweight, faster to use than something like Unity or even GNOME. You know, GNOME is not really, a thing anymore, but it is quicker and lightweight to use. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of KDE. I mean, it's nice and everything, but for my likes, it's just way too, I don't know, it's just not attractive, honestly. But it gets the job done, and it's actually very fluent, which I like about it. And here we are inside LibreOffice. Let's create a new document. Now, one thing I know a lot of people are going to ask is, can you use your own keyboard and mouse? And actually, you can, and I can show you that in 1 second. Let's actually just go up here, file. Come on, come on. There we go. New text document. And I just quickly connected my USB host adapter. And as you see, right now I have my keyboard right here. And what's cool is that USB does work. So as you see, I'm typing. And this works the same way with a mouse, even a flash drive. I mean, a lot of USB host devices will work. Linux applications do work on here. As long as they're compiled to work with ARM, then you should have no problem with it. And here we go. GIMP is also open up on here and working just well. Alright, so once you're done playing around with Linux, what you want to do is make sure you close it. So first disconnect the VNC. Then go back to Terminal Emulator and type in exit. It's going to shut down everything. And type in exit again. And exit one more time. And here we go. And now you shut down Linux. So guys, this has been how to run Ubuntu 13.10 on your Android device. Like I said, it's really cool just to have the power of a desktop operating system on your mobile device. I mean, there's so many uses you can do with this, and it's just a really cool thing. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. And as always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another guidance video. Thanks.